Welcome, everybody, to the first edition of the season of Valpo Basketball Weekly. It's brought to you by our friends at Lakeshore Bone and Joint Institute. I'm Brandon Vickery, glad to be joined by the head coach of the Valpo basketball program, Matt Loddick. As we look ahead to the season and competition is right around the corner, the team opens up the exhibition season at home at noon on Saturday. Let's jump in and talk about your roster, and let's start with your two preseason All-MVC players, and Ben Krikke and Kobe King. What's it like to have your top two scorers back, and maybe how have those two improved over the course of the offseason?
First of all, anytime you can keep some continuity like that and keep guys that have had that success in your program, in your league, on your team. I mean, you have a head start. So that's been awesome. I'm glad that they did get some, preseason recognition because I thought they deserved it. And I think both of them have done a great job of improving. And I think the first area that I would just say their improvement has just been their bodies and their conditioning. When Kobe came, obviously his, story's been talked about, but he came here probably 215, 218 pounds. Right now he weighed in today about 198, so he's lighter. And you can see, his first step's better. He's still very strong. So we're expecting a good year from him, and I think it'll be a better year than he's had. Ben's been great. Ben has also his conditioning's improved. I mean, his health's improved. He looks quicker, a little bouncier. But people forget, right? Ben, in our first exhibition game last year, sprained his ankle. So we were dealing with injuries quick. And I think for him, it was kind of playing catch up for a large part of the year. So we're going to lean a lot on those two guys, but their leadership's been great, and their production's been great.
We'll get to the newcomers in a moment, but let's talk about the rest of the returning players outside of Kobe and Ben. Maybe who stood out, or what can you say about that group or the rest of the guys that are back from last season?
I think anytime, you just have guys that have been in the program, right, there's going to be some improvement. Again, I think collectively as a whole, our strength and our conditioning has really improved. And, we tried to address that this off season, and I think the guys have done a great job. We added Coach VJ Blackman. He's been great for us. But guys that have stood out, I mean, I think that there's just been an overall consensus of like, all right, we've got to be able to complement Ben and Kobe well. Cam Police is someone that's done well. Preston's obviously done well. Darius has done well. And really throughout the roster, I mean, those guys have done very well. I have been very pleased with Emil and Joe. I think that they've improved. They're adding a big presence in the lane. And then we'll talk about some newcomers, but Jerome in there, we kind of got that three-headed monster. And anyone who grew up as a Bulls fan back in the 90s we talked about that three-headed monster, Luke Longley, Bill Wennington, and Will Purdue. So we might see some of that from the old Valpo Beacons.
Let's talk more about that newcomer group. Brought in some players that fans are excited about. What are some reasons they have to be excited about the guys you brought in?
I just think overall our athleticism's been improved. We added two Division II players. Nick Edwards is very twitchy, very athletic, can score when needed, but is a point guard. And he was plagued by he broke his foot, missed a bunch of the season last year. But at the time, he was leading Division II in assists. And they were playing up and down, and so he had more opportunities. It was a high possession game, but he is a very quick. Can score point guard. And I think he is going to be, someone that we're going to have in the lineup a lot. And then Quentin Green, it's funny because I remember when we played Cedarville, what is that, 4 or 5 years ago now, Brandon? And I talked to, Coach Estep's a good friend of mine. And after the game, I'm like, man, Pat, like, that guy's really good. And it was Quentin. Quentin was coming off his redshirt freshman year. So now he's with us, shooting the ball great, got good athleticism. And so I think he'll add some valuable perimeter play for us. So again, the whole goal of the offseason, obviously there's going to be turnover every single year. It's just the nature of college basketball, but we kept a good core intact, was adding players that we thought could complement the guys that we had coming back well.
Question for every program is what's the health of the team look like? So I'll ask you that question. Where do things stand going into the exhibition and going into the regular season a couple weeks from now?
Well, look, at this time of the year, right, you go from, playing we were doing 4 hours of basketball a week, right, in our off-season hours. And then you jump into 20. right? And for us, right, we've had nothing like majorly serious, but we've had a lot of guys out. And so I'm not sure if we'll be fully healthy for Cedarville, but we should probably be fully healthy for Toledo, which is good. But so practices the last week have been a little challenging. We've had 8 scholarship guys that have been healthy. But again, those guys are starting to come back. And so, we should be able to compete and get out there on Saturday and learn a lot about our team, which I'm really excited about, and see our guys in some live competition settings and against someone else. And then, really start our prep work for a very good Toledo team.
Yeah, you touched on it. Let's talk more about what can you learn in a game setting against an outside opponent versus what you can learn in practice. How important is this exhibition on Saturday, and what do you hope to take away?
Well, I think, for us, right, we're going to play Ben primarily at the 4 this year, right? And so I think because of injuries last year, right, Thomas was, in and out of the lineup, and Ben was playing a lot of 5. We want to play him primarily at the 4. So, doing that, we're going to be big. And we're going to, try to duck you in and post you up and play inside out. And most teams now, right, are spreading you. Right. So for us, right, it's going to be, okay, how do we guard, when they're smaller and we got to chase around with bigger guys. And, we've been doing it okay in practice. But again, we also know what's coming, right? We know what's coming with our offense and things like that. So it'll be a good test for us. I plan on playing a lot of people, playing a lot of lineups, and just learning a lot about our guys.
Still 2 weeks away, but as you look ahead to Toledo, what's it like to start the season with a tough opponent like that on the road? And what do you have to do between now and then to be ready to try to start the season off on the right foot?
I think first, we've just got to continue to, just see what lineups work really well together. So we got to continue to work on ourselves. Toledo, they play small. Their 4 and 5 man can really shoot. They're very skilled. They've got big, strong guards. And so it'll be a little bit of a, different styles, playing against one another. And so, again, we're worried a lot about ourselves. We're going to guard a certain way, and it's going to be how we guard. And we're going to play offense a certain way. It's going to be how we play offense. And we're just going to, try our best to do our best. But again, I love going on the road to a team that's probably picked to win the MAC. It's got a lot of veterans back. It's going to be a really good test early to see where we're at.
There he is, the head coach of the Valpo basketball program, Matt Loddick. The game is open to the public on Saturday. You can come out and get an early look at the Beacons, a noon start time against Cedarville on Saturday afternoon. We'll talk to you again next time on Valpo Basketball Weekly. It's sponsored by Lakeshore Bone and Joint Institute.